Hello and welcome to Two Therapists and a Microphone. I am Dr. Harrison Davis.
And I'm Dr. Aisha Dickerson.
Two Therapists and a Microphone is a show about mental health, relationships, and social issues that personally affect you. We broadcast live every Thursday evening at 7 o'clock p.m. on the Our Black Media Network.
So, Harrison and I are two licensed psychotherapists with decades of clinical experience, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear about the situations or dilemmas that you're going through. So, please send your questions to www.twotherapist.com and click on Ask Two Therapists at the top of the page.
So, Aisha and I have been away for about 2 months. I know you guys missed us. And we decided to take a little break in between seasons this summer, and we got some of our self-care things taken care of, so we both took some vacation time. But I want to hear from you, Aisha. What did you do for your self-care this summer?
Well, I went on a Disney cruise. I hope they'll let us say Disney and they won't block that out. I mean, I'm like a walking advertisement right now because I loved it so much that I put down a deposit on my next Disney cruise. So I'm going to be
Wow.
one of those Castaway Club people now because everyone who'd already been on the cruise had special lanyards and
Yep.
stuff. And I want to do all of that. It was great. There were floors for adults. The
Yep.
kids had something to do. That was maybe the one of the best vacations I've been on, at least top five. Not the best, but at least top five.
Okay. So what were your stops? What islands?
We went to Nassau and we went to Castaway Cay. I guess that's the one
Uh-huh.
that's owned by. We didn't do the big one. The by big I mean no more than 3 days because I'm not a cruise fan, so I wanted to
Okay.
see how much I liked it first, and I
Oh,
liked it. So I'll do
okay.
something bigger next time.
Well, you could do what I did with my family. It was an 8-day carnival
Whew,
cruise,
see that
the
would have got me.
Southern Caribbean. And I got the picture in the background of Aruba, Carousel, and 2 stops in Dominican Republic. That was wonderful.
Great.
I'm a cruiser. That was my 8th cruise.
Oh,
Uh-huh. Yep, yep. And we went with a lot of people. I think it was 11 of us,
see,
family.
that's another bad thing for me. All this, too many people, too many days. I would not love these people when I got back.
We usually do 7-day cruises, and going down to Aruba, I guess it took 8. I must admit that 8th day, I was ready to get off the ship. But four stops is really good. That's all part of our self care. I encourage you guys to consider the same things. I love to travel. Cruising is wonderful. I sound like a commercial now.
I know, right?
But whatever it
You for
takes.
you for Carnival and me for Disney. Look, my cruise was great. Book them
Yes.
early.
I
The
got to
food
do a
was
Disney
great.
cruise one day. I did Carnival and Royal Caribbean. So we come back and it's like back to work and
Right.
getting the kids back ready for school, and all the ordeals. And they come back. So I'm glad that I had that little getaway for 8 days to deal with things. And so that brings us to today's topic, what we're going to
Hmm.
talk about, forgiveness. And we're going to bring our clinical guest on real soon, who specializes in forgiveness, and talk about that. But I was hoping Aisha and I can share, we're human too.
Hmm. I'm superhuman.
A
Not-
situation. And I was thinking about it, what can I tell the audience, about, betrayal, resentment. I had to think back at a time, where I was confronted with that. But I want you to go first. Tell us how you handle situations like that.
Well, it's funny because I think I liked the topic forgiveness because I think it's probably an area where I could use. I mean, there's not a lot of things I'm not great at, but forgiveness is one. I'm just not great at it. I better with resentment. I feel like it feeds me.
Mm,
And if it's growing and I react, I feel power. I feel good without forgiving people. I don't There are people that I feel like I never need to or have to forgive. I'm going to be okay with that.
okay. All right. I,
What?
I I respect that, you know, because I had to think back at a situation, my former employer, and we were in a different department. We were housed within a larger department, and we were not treated well. And the interim temporary department head, I don't know what it was. He just didn't. I don't know. I didn't feel welcome. I didn't feel like I was part of the team, like I was like outside of the in crowd. And he made some statements to smear my name, some falsehoods to the other professors. And I just remember thinking, ooh, I hope he hits a tree when he goes home. Because I tried to talk to him, and I said, "Forget it. I'm not going to resolve anything. I made a decision that I did not have a relationship with him. I could care less, So I went through a little period where I saw him, and I just decided to make him invisible to me. I cut him off, and if I didn't have to talk to you, I don't have to talk to you.
See, I'm the opposite. When in my resentment, I'm going to make sure that that I'm still upset with you. So when I was a master's student, I had one professor who gave me a B. And I mean, she gave it to me. I earned my A, but she would not look through trust me, I earned an A. She gave me a B, and she wanted me to just get comfortable with having a B and be okay with it. That was my master's program. Now, since then, I've gotten a PhD and everything. I do a lot of professional activities. And I remember seeing her at a national conference maybe about 4 years ago. And she gave me a hug, or let's say she tried to give me a hug, and told me how proud she was of me and all that. And I said, why? You had nothing to do with it. You were the only person who gave me a B the whole time I was in graduate school.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, you gave her that. And so she didn't remember it. It wasn't significant to her at all. Yeah.
She was so shocked she didn't apologize. She was just like, well, okay. I moved on fine. I need to get that off my chest. And if I see her again, I'll probably bring it up again.
Gotcha. So we handle things a little bit differently. I make a decision sometimes. Yeah, I can confront things and people, but I make a decision sometimes. Is that worth my energy? Is that unreasonable behavior? And whatever it was he had against me, I wasn't part of the crew. Coincidentally, I was the only Black professor.
Oh, okay. Well, there you have it.
Just I just want to throw that out there. And I was in a different academic area within a larger department, though. But I'm not going to give you that energy. I'm not. You're not going to steal my joy. So I decided to ignore him and wait for God to take out His wrath on him, and he did. Okay. So I just waited. And when I heard about some situations he was in, I said, "Oh well, God don't like ugly."
He doesn't.
That's an approach that I take with that. But I have certainly had some clients who struggle with forgiveness, and I'm pretty sure you have too. Oh, yeah. Where we've tried to help them because it was eating at them. It doesn't eat at me.
It doesn't eat at me either.
I'm just waiting to get the news. Oh, did you hear what happened to so and so, so and so?
You sound like my sister. She's like that. She's like, I'll just wait.
So today we have a special guest that we have on who's going to talk about forgiveness, and it happens to be someone who I know very well, Dr. Richard Balkin. He and I were cohorts together in our PhD program at the University of Arkansas. So I've known Richard Balkin since 2000. As a matter of fact, he's a rock star now.
I was still in high school then. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I was advanced, so I was. So Dr. Richard Balkin, PhD, is a professor, interim department chair of leadership and counselor education, and coordinator of educational research and design in the School of Education at the University of Mississippi. He is the author of Practicing Forgiveness, A Path Toward Healing. He currently serves as editor-in-chief for the International Journal for the Advancement of Counseling. Rick is a fellow of the American Counseling Association, past president for the Association for Assessment and Research in Counseling, and former editor for the Journal of Counseling and Development. Let me keep going. Rick began practicing as a professional counselor in 1993. I think I was 15 at that time, or 16.
Elementary school.
And has worked in academia since 2003. That's when we both graduated from Arkansas. Rick has over 100 publications. Oh my God, do you sleep? His counseling experiences include working with at-risk youth and adolescents in crisis. He has published in the areas of religious diversity and forgiveness. And so I want to welcome to the show Dr. Richard Balkin.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here. This is
Okay,
great.
good. There's a little delay in your microphone.
Okay.
Is
that better?
That's a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hearing my echo through your computer. Are you listening through your headphones?
I was.
Can you hear me through your headphones? All right. So take a second to check your mic. Let me just mute you just a little bit.
Okay.
I'm going to mute you. There you go. Yeah, that's coming from yours. Check that out on your laptop just for a minute or two. Aisha and I will continue talking about forgiveness.
Yeah, Rick, it might be better if we just go without the headphones if possible.
Yeah, just take them off completely and disconnect them from your computer. Turn off the Bluetooth. And
Gotcha.
we're back. Can you hear us?
I can. How's that?
Yeah, we hear you a second after your lips move.
Oh, wow. Okay, we weren't having this problem earlier. That's strange.
That is correct. So do me a favor. I'm gonna mute you just for 1 minute. Check your computer, make sure it's hooked up well and everything's working well. And I remember Aisha had a client who was a grown man, in his 40s, kids, everything, and he did not forgive his parents for breaking up and divorcing. You know, when he was a kid, and it meant he had to go live with his mom. He had to change schools. And he had to leave his friends. Now, this is a grown man, you know, and he held on to that resentment throughout his adulthood. You might want to leave out and come back. Try that, Rick. Yeah, leave out and come back. Yeah, and get back. Yeah, get back on.
I think I have it. Is that better?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
All right. So forget that client. I helped him. He's good now. But we have the expert here who's written over 100 articles. I've seen some of your TEDx talks, and you talk about forgiveness. I want to first ask, how did you get started to focus on forgiveness? You know, how did that become something you decided to focus on?
So, you know, this was a topic that I didn't find. It found me. And it happened in my clinical work. So this is my 20th year. This is Harrison. This is our 20th year in academia.
Yes.
And,
well, I got one more year. We got one more year.
Okay. We're starting our 20th year. So, but yeah, you know, we, prior to that, I used to work on an adolescent unit in an inpatient psychiatric hospital.
I remember that.
And one of my clients came in. She was suicidal. And what happened is she had disclosed to her school counselor that she was being sexually abused by her father. And the school counselor did all the things a school counselor is supposed to do. Called the abuse hotline, made a report, an investigation ensued. And the father was removed from the home, and the mother turns to her daughter and says, "You're destroying our family." Wow. And that's when this client became suicidal.
Oh.
So at this time, the father's removed. The mom still has custody. DHS is involved. The daughter is hospitalized, and I am doing the first family session between daughter and her mom. And I'm talking to her mom, and I said, what your daughter needs most right now is support. And mom's nodding and, you know, okay, we're on the same page here. So we're good. And I bring the daughter into the family conference room, and if you can imagine an office where there's two chairs and a sofa, and the daughter goes to sit on the sofa, the mom doesn't go to sit next to her daughter. She sits in this chair between me and her daughter and looks at her daughter, and the first words out of the mother's mouth was, as a Christian, you have to forgive him. And
wow.
Yeah. And y'all, I would love to tell you that what came out of my mouth, I took a moment to pause and reflect on what I was going to say and then gave a response. I didn't. My response came automatic. And I looked at the mother. She says, as a Christian, you have to forgive him. And I said, wouldn't that be convenient for you? And the mom looks at me like, what did you just say? And I said, well, then you don't have to choose between your daughter's disclosure and your husband's denial. If she forgives him, it just goes under the rug. So that family session doesn't go really well. And, whether you like what I said or not, I've had some folks say, wow, that was really gangsta. And I've had other folks say, I don't like what you said. It doesn't matter because that's what I said, and I'm not going to change the narrative. If you don't like it, it's what I said. So I, years later, after our doctoral program, I took my first academic position, and I joined a synagogue, and there was this presentation on forgiveness in Judaism, and there's three types of forgiveness in Judaism. There's the forgiveness that only God can give, and it's called selicha. It's a Hebrew word, selicha, and it refers to. But it refers to what only God can give. And then we have restitutional forgiveness. I borrow your lawnmower, I break your lawnmower, I repair your lawnmower. We're good.
Gotcha.
And then we had this concept called mechila, and it refers to this wiping away of debt. The idea of what I want from you, I'm not going to get, so you don't owe it anymore. And I went, that's my client. That's where she needed to go. The idea that we work with people sometimes where reconciliation is a separate part of forgiveness. And sometimes, instead of viewing forgiveness from the lens of, oh, I forgive you, let's repair our relationship, our traditional way of looking at it, we can look at forgiveness from an idea of what I want from you, I'm not going to get. So you don't owe it to me anymore, and we're done. In each of your stories that I was listening to, I'm thinking to myself, do you wake up in the morning wishing ill will upon this person?
Yes.
I don't.
So
First thing in the morning, I hope I have a great day and all of my enemies, at a minimum, get a flat tire in 5 o'clock traffic in Atlanta.
Now, there was a time in the beginning, I was really hoping he would hit a tree driving home. I'm not going to lie.
First of all, I would say anger sometimes gets a bad rap because anger can move us to decisions and progress. But anger, especially a brooding anger, can take a lot of negative energy. So a lot of it depends on what you do with that. You wake up and say, have a crappy day, haha, and you're fed by that and you have a smile on your face. Or, I'm waking up angry and it's affecting my day. And I'm not as productive. I remember when I worked in a bad environment, and I remember having a 30-minute drive. And I could feel during that 30-minute drive as I'm preparing mentally for my day at work. My blood was boiling. I was like, oh my God, if I continue working here, I'm going to have a heart attack by the time I'm 45 because it was taking a toll on me. At that point, it's having a detrimental effect on our own wellness. And so I look at the idea of, forgiveness can be interpersonal, where you reconcile the relationship. But forgiveness can also be intrapersonal, where you say, you know what? I don't wish you any ill will anymore. As a matter of fact, I don't even think about you anymore. We're done. And that is another type of forgiveness.
Yeah, I'm glad you validated, how I feel. Because when I cut you off, I cut you off. I don't give a damn, but I don't forget. Like I know what you did, I know what you said, and I didn't like it, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna harbor those stressful feelings that you just talked about. I tell myself I'm gonna leave that with you and God, and He's gonna get you. is what I do.
Well, so I wouldn't say that my anger stresses me out. I don't think about, and I do wake up, a list of people who I'm hoping get it today. But I move on, and when bad things happen to them, I have sometimes said I wish it were worse. People always say things like, "I never wish death on anybody." I'm like, really? Nobody? That's not realistic, is it?
Karma is a real thing, and there's a difference between karma and revenge. Karma is you're going to get what's coming to you. I'm just not going to have anything to do with it.
So I'm with that. I'm not going to have anything to do with it, but I sure am hoping that the Lord answers my prayers because He knows my heart and what I went through.
And revenge belongs to the Lord.
Yes.
So is that healthy for us to let it go, Rick, and for our audience, to not exactly, I guess that is a form of forgiveness, making a decision that I'm not going to hold on to it. And whatever happens to you because I believe in karma. I have seen it work. So are you saying that Aisha and I are doing a good thing with what we're practicing?
That's an interesting question, and of course, the answer is, does it work for you?
It works for me. Yep.
Right. Who are we to judge whether something is a good thing for you or a bad thing for you? This is your journey, and again, I think it depends on what you get with it. If you're waking up angry, and it's affecting your wellness, it's affecting your interactions, it's affecting how you feel, then I would suggest that's probably something you need to suggest. And but I hope that what people walk away is the idea that forgiveness doesn't have to be a reconciliation. It can. We do couples counseling. We believe in this. But we also know, what? But we also get away from each other.
Yeah. So Rick, that you're coming back with the echo and the static. I'm just going to mute you for a minute. Check your connection, and I'll bring you right back. And we love the came back, Aisha. But Dr. Balkin mentioned something that was very interesting that I believe in, that forgiveness does not require reconciliation.
Now, I definitely agree with that, because what I cannot guarantee that I will forgive you, but I can guarantee that we'll never reconcile.
Yeah, because a lot of my clients I've talked to, they think they need to go back being friends with the person,
right?
Have a relationship, with the person. So I'm glad, Rick, and I brought you back. Much better. Yeah. So I'm glad that you mentioned. We don't have to go back and being friends with the person, because I'm not going to be buddies with that guy I used to work with 10 years ago. I don't care what you're doing, but I'm over it, but how healthy is this? Elaborate just a little bit on the role that reconciliation plays with forgiveness.
Right. So, there's two paths, and I often talk about this in terms of Darth Vader and Lord Voldemort, because I'm a nerd. I like these examples.
I like these. I'm a nerd too, so I'm looking forward to it.
I'm not a nerd, so
okay. But we know the story of Darth Vader. He's a bad guy. He kills baby Jedi. He destroys planets. But when he sees his son getting killed by lightning bolts coming out of the evil emperor's fingertips, he picks up the evil emperor and throws him into a nuclear furnace. and takes off his mask and says, "Let me look at you with my own eyes," and then becomes a ghost. Seriously, somebody wrote this and it became a really popular movie, but becomes a ghost and smiles glowingly as
revenge.
Yeah. But he gets redemption, and there's this reconciled relationship. And isn't this just an interesting theme in our human stories and experiences? Carl Jung called them archetypes, but what they are is these recurring human dramas that play out in our histories and our stories about redemption and about reconciliation, which is very different from the Harry Potter series, where the villain never does anything good, is evil is evil, and people die and they don't come back.
That's
and
right.
There is no redemption there. It's, I lost my parents, I lost my friends, I lost my family, and that doesn't change, and it kind of hurts. So, this idea of interpersonal forgiveness, that sometimes we can see the role of reconciliation as beneficial, that we see a benefit to healing this relationship.
Some people do that.
Yeah. We can confront Vader. We can confront the perpetrator, the offender, the person who's caused us harm. And if we see remorse and change, such as a couple who dealt with infidelity.
Yeah.
If you see remorse and change, you can put the relationship back together. There's a difference for, hey, we've been dating 6 months and you cheated on me, we're done, versus we've been married for 25 years. We have finances together. We have a family together. We have kids together. This is more complicated, and I'd like to repair this.
Yeah.
And so that's the reconciliation piece. But sometimes either we don't see reconciliation as beneficial. It's just, this is a bad relationship, I'm out of here. Or we see reconciliation as beneficial, but the person who caused us harm isn't remorseful, isn't going to change. And it puts us back in the same spot where we go through the stages of grief. This relationship, what I wanted from this person, I'm not going to get. And there's denial and anger, and we have to eventually come to an understanding and an emotional connection to the idea that this relationship is gone, like I've lost something close to me.
You just said something that really struck me, Rick. I'm just mute you for just 1 second. Yeah, the static came back. Yeah, so what I heard Dr. Balkin talk about is that the person is not remorseful, and that plays a role, and I see on some of the reality shows that I look at sometimes, and people shame some of the characters when they try to get back together with that cheating spouse, but you're right, Rick, that they have a lot invested in that relationship. But Aisha, what do you think about trying to reconcile relationships when the person isn't remorseful? They're okay with what they did.
I think it would just make you look stupid. You're over there putting in all that energy trying to not just heal yourself, but heal this relationship, and the other person is like, oh, got him again. Or they'll pretend that they're going to be a part of this reconciliation. Now, this is what I've seen a lot when it comes to, let's say, divorced couples, co-parenting relationships, where they're acting like they're getting along and everyone has forgiven each other for the sake of the child. And then as soon as you don't get what you want, you go back to dogging them out, and your mama is this and your dad and blah, 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 and you ain't never going to be nothing. And I hate I had a kid with you. And then have you really forgiven?
Yeah. Reminds me of a client years ago, 30 years old, wife around the same age, and the wife was really good friends with his mom, and they used to hang out together. And so, but the wife would get mad at his mom sometimes because of something that some argument or something, and she would go to her husband complaining about his mom and calling her names. And he came to me to figure out how to forgive her, because it was messing up their relationship and their intimacy and how he viewed her. And the thing came up where, how many times has she done that? Oh, she does it a lot. Did you tell her to stop doing it? You didn't like it? He said, yeah, I did. But she kept doing it. So I had to talk to him about, but she hasn't redeemed herself. Mm-hmm. She heard you. She's not honoring, your wishes, and keeps doing something, this little jab, that really hurts you. So there came a point in that counseling relationship where I had to talk to him. It sounds like perhaps your wife may not deserve your forgiveness. So if you were my clinical supervisor, Dr. Balkin, and to our audience, what do you think about that?
There's two pieces of it. There's one of, yes, this person hasn't redeemed themselves, and so why are you so quick to forgive? But another piece that you might want to look at, just to be sure, is the person who says, yeah, this is toxic, but I like it. And, you probably have a friend or know someone who goes just from bad relationship to bad relationship. You're like,
I do.
Oh no. You don't want to be with that person, but they just, sometimes, it's that physical attraction, and look, this person is not a good person, but that physical attraction is strong. And so, if the person is unwilling to look at to stay in a relationship where the person is not remorseful and not going to change, then the opposite of that is you must really like this toxicity because you keep going back.
Gotcha. I'm gonna mute you for just 1 second, Richard. So, Aisha, what did you think about that?
Well, my thing is, I see that happen a lot of course, with clients and stuff, but also with family members. And when I see that happen, it's like, at what point does constant, ongoing
betrayal?
No, forgiveness. If you're the person that forgives everybody, at what point is that psycho?
How's it helping you?
Right. And so, it's like, that's insane. You're just going to keep forgiving everybody. Well, the Bible says. I'm like, well.
Yeah, I hear that a lot, but that's a good point you made, Rick, to assess whether or not you actually like that. You like somebody like that who is giving you a hard time and not honoring your feelings. Because that guy, I remember, it's right before the pandemic. He was growing frustrated, more so because he couldn't forgive his wife. And he came to me to try to forgive his wife because, like I mentioned, it was causing damage to their relationship. So like him and many other people who may be listening, can you help us to figure out what are the steps to forgiveness?
Yeah.
What should members of our audience think about doing when they're making a conscious decision to forgive somebody, and it may be a little bit complicated for them?
Well, in my book, I actually outline 4 steps. I talk about this idea of collaborative exploration. This idea of talk to somebody, talk to your best friend, talk to a mentor, talk to a counselor, talk to grandma.
Get it out, to purge.
Talk to grandma. But, a funny thing happens when we do that. The unmentionable becomes mentionable. If you've ever experienced a pain that's so bad that you can't even talk about it, and then what happens eventually is that you've gone from a 10 to a 9. The unmentionable becomes mentionable, and I think that's a really important part of our healing, is to talk to someone.
And also, if I could just add to that right quick, I think it's also helpful when you talk about things, you verbalize it, it makes it real, and as opposed to being this incident in our head and sometimes questioning, did that really happen? Did he actually do that? But when you talk about it, you can actually relive it, to process it just a little bit, and makes it a little bit more your reality. Because now you heard yourself tell someone how bad you were treated by this other individual. So I really like that.
And then, look at the role of reconciliation. Is reconciling this relationship beneficial to you or not? And think about your cultural views about this. If you believe that forgiveness only happens with a healed relationship with the other person, I would challenge you. I would ask if you should possibly be open to another journey. Because the third phase is if you want to reconcile, if you want to think it's beneficial,
But the person isn't remorseful or going to change. We're going to end up in the same spot as a reconciliation, which is working through those stages of grief, which is working.
Gotcha. I'm just gonna mute for you 1 second, Rick, because yeah, the static is coming from your end. Make sure you have a good internet connection, because you're giving us some valuable information that I really like. I want to make sure the audience hears you. I'm having a hard time, but let me go back now.
How's that? How's
It's
that?
the same, but we're going to have to continue.
Okay.
So consider reconciliation if that is healthy for you, and that involves some action steps to improve the relationship. You know, it would be ideal if the person is remorseful.
It's needed. You know, if you're gonna renegotiate, not go back to what it was. You have to renegotiate to what it was. You have to renegotiate and have that interpersonal connection. But be open to the idea that reconciliation isn't beneficial. That is reconciliation relationships. There's unhealthy abusive relationships. Or be open to the idea that it would be beneficial. This person isn't going to change. It would be beneficial. Then we have to go with this idea. We have to go with this idea. I introduced the willingness to wipe away death, willingness to recognize what I want from this person, to recognize what I want from this person. I'm not going. I need to come to terms with moving forward. I don't get what I want from this person.
Gotcha. I'm going to mute you one more time, Rick. I am sorry to do that, but that static and the echo from your microphone, just check it again one more time, please, because I hear you talking. So, Aisha, what do you think about when Rick was talking about renegotiating a relationship?
I mean, I think that Rick made a good point earlier that when you have to determine whether or not the relationship is worth renegotiating. Have we been together for 25 years or even 25 months, 2 years and 1 month, and enough for me to put up with certain stuff. But I mean, I would like to say that I could be more forgiving and, a quarter of a century, but who knows? I don't know if I'll make it there.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's when a couple in particular, or friendship, or even family members, when you can actually do that, that is great. But renegotiating relationship can be challenging when you've been hurt, because now you're going to see the person a little bit differently, and you already had an image in your head of this perception of who they are, and for many people, I'm believing that's who you fell in love with, and now they've hurt you and it's traumatic. I get all that, but then making a decision, they're even remorseful about it, but then how are you going to change how you view that person, and will that become a new relationship? And those are questions that we have to ask ourselves. So you're back, Rick. It sounds like you're much better.
Okay. It must be Mississippi internet, but one of the things that I would also just want to mention here is that forgiveness is time and context bound, and I think we need to refrain from looking at ourselves as either forgiving people or unforgiving people. For instance, let's say your son or daughter brings home a friend, and that friend steals $20 out of your wallet. You might be like, that person's never allowed in our house again.
They may not make it out of my house
place either. Okay, but you can't be friends with them anymore.
Right. But what if that's your nephew or niece? Oh, now we got to have a talk.
Yeah.
And
I don't know about my nephews or niece. They might.
But I can see myself doing that, but if you come back over, you got to sit right here in this chair and you're not going to move. And I'm going to put my stuff up.
Everybody's got to hide their stuff. Right.
But the same offense.
Yeah.
But you treat it differently depending on the context. And so, like I said, infidelity. You've been going out for 3 months. You've been married for 20 years. It's different. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same offense, but the context matters. And so I would always say, you're not a forgiving person or an unforgiving person. And Aisha, you gave an example of this person who forgives everybody. They do that. They act a certain way with, I would challenge that person and say, let's consider context.
Consider you, as being this punching bag.
Yeah.
And the message that you're sending to people by constantly forgiving them, right, making it easy for them to get away with that infraction. I just had to throw that one in.
You're right.
So it sounds like you were talking about, you got to make yourself a priority in this process of forgiveness, and you think about, is it worth it to you? But you continue in the stages of forgiveness. I think you mentioned 2 of them.
So we have the role of reconciliation, and then we have the remorse and change of the offender. And of the 4 stages, that 3rd stage is the one that, as the victim of somebody's behavior, you have no control over. You can control about how much you talk and what you explore, your feelings about the person who caused you harm. You can control whether or not you believe reconciliation is beneficial. You have some control in that. You don't have any control on what this other person does. So that's external. That's outside of you.
Yeah.
And then based on these 2 middle elements of, is reconciliation beneficial and is this person remorseful and change, you get to the 4th phase, which is the outcome phase. Do you want to pursue a renegotiation of the relationship, or do you want to go it alone and come to terms with the idea that what I want from this person, I'm not going to get, and so I withdraw this debt, this what they owe me, because I'm not going to get it, And you think about that. You think about how often. Aisha, you brought up the example of the B. You're not going to get an A.
And I'm still better known than she is now today. I have surpassed. It took me.
Your transcript will never change. And hopefully, even if you're angry about it, you've come to terms. You don't wake up in the morning and go, I better check my transcript.
I don't, but every time I have to turn in an official transcript, I get pissed off about it again.
You remember
whenever
that?
I change.
I'm not going to get my master.
So let me ask this question, because I like what you were saying. Releasing the debt. That's releasing that negative energy, and even making a decision and realizing I can't get what I want from that person, even an apology, or even for them to admit the wrongdoing that they've done, and then coming to terms with that. I really like that, and how you describe that. The other piece that I'm thinking about, what if that infraction, the bad thing that the person did, triggers the person with some more unresolved forgiveness that they have? That sounds a little bit more complicated. And I think in our field, the people who we see, it may not always be as easy as that one situation with that one person. Yeah. How can we help the people out there who are seeking or who are challenged with forgiving, like a parent who they grew up with, that uncle or aunt who molested them, or the teacher who ignored them, and then the college friend who took advantage of them because they had poor boundaries, and now they're an adult feeling vulnerable and a little bit hopeless about relationships. So it's stacked, with a lot of pathology that's in that. Are you suggesting that we take that same approach with some of those individuals?
I think I am. And let's just understand, you break a process up into 4 phases, and it sounds overly simplistic. It's not. The idea of considering the role of reconciliation and its and its benefits, and it brings up other issues of why do I keep going back to this relationship and the person is not remorseful, isn't going to change?
Or end up with someone else who does the same thing.
Right.
It's like the same guy in a different body.
Right. And so, we have these challenges, and it forces us to explore ourselves. I'll give you an example. I had a client who was an overeater, and I was doing what I typically do with clients, which wasn't working. I was very much into looking at beliefs and changing your beliefs, and that wasn't working. And then I asked a different question. I asked a question of when do you quit eating? When you're overeating, when do you quit? And she said, when I feel pain. I said, what do you think that pain means? And she says to me, I was emotionally abused by my father. And when he was dying, being the oldest child, I had to set up all his health care. And so I would go, when the home health care aide wasn't there, I would go and sit with him. And we really started to connect and talk. And then I said to him, Daddy, I love you. And you know what? He didn't say, I love you back. And colloquially, she said it differently, but he was a jerk to the bitter end.
I got you.
Yeah.
And yes, he was.
Yeah. And, we went from overeating, this compulsive behavior, to this deep, I was emotionally abused as a child, and as an adult, I still didn't get what I wanted. I didn't see that coming from a mile away. And so it really points out to this idea that we do carry stuff. And she had carried this pain with her, this emotional pain with her. Yeah. And it was affecting her in her adult life in a very physical way. That when I said, what does that pain, you eat until you feel physical pain. What does that mean to you? And she brings up this moment with her father. So these issues are deep-seated. And,
they are.
And I think the best thing that we can do is understand that they're complicated, they're complex, and we should talk to someone.
Absolutely.
We got to do the work.
Yeah. So speaking of talking to someone, Rick, we're getting close to the end. So I want to ask you, how can our viewers get in contact with you if they want to in the future? And tell us about your book too. Where can we find
Yes, absolutely.
So, yes, I wrote a book, Practicing Forgiveness, A Path Toward Healing. It's on Amazon, it's on Barnes & Noble, it's at Oxford University Press. I'm at the University of Mississippi, R.S. Balkin at olemiss.edu. So you can Google me and you'll find me, and you'll find my book. And that's probably the easiest way to reach out to me is just to email me.
Gotcha. And let me just say, Rick is a good friend of mine, but I'm not saying it's because we're friends, but that book is really good. I read through a couple of the chapters, and particularly the one on the stages of forgiveness. And I found it incredibly helpful in what I have been doing and understanding what I've been doing clinically with some of my clients. I just didn't have a word for it. And you created words and you described it very well. So I thought that was really good.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to get a copy and I'll let you all know if I end up being more forgiving when I finish. I'll be the test. I'll be your test client, Rick.
That sounds great. That sounds great. Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm going to encourage everybody to go out there and check out Richard Balkin's book, Practicing Forgiveness, A Path Toward Healing. I mean, that is the goal. That's what you want to do. Whether or not the person remains in your life, that's a different situation. But I like how you said, even the last analogy you gave, the woman who ate so much and she stopped only when she felt physical pain. and we can talk about that with emotional pain. That's a sign. I tell people all the time, monitor your feelings when you're around someone. And if you feel uneasy or overly anxious or even sad constantly around somebody, that is your body, that's your spirit sending you some messages that you need to confront something. So thank you, Rick Balkin, for coming in and talking about forgiveness. Any final thoughts from you?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure. Just a pleasure to reconnect with you here. So this way, we go each other.
You can call me anytime, Rick.
This would be great. Thank you. And check out the book and reach out to me. Let me know what you think. It's been a very cool journey for me personally to be able to write on a topic that resonates with me.
Yeah, I think it does.
And find a way to connect with mental health and to bring people also on a spiritual journey. As I mentioned, it came from a Jewish conceptualization of forgiveness that really has translated well. I've gone and talked with various churches. I've done a lot of research on this model with the African American population. And it holds. It works. It's empirically based, as well as I think a good theory.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. So, Dr. Aisha, any final thoughts from you on forgiveness? Did you learn anything today?
I feel like I did. I learned enough to want to pick up the book and try towards forgiveness. But look, this is my last time trying it.
So maybe in the future, at another show, we could talk about revenge, and the role that plays in helping you to heal, because I got a client, she really felt good, when she tried to run over her boyfriend.
It feels good.
And she bust out his windshield.
Not revenge, vindication.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
But she felt good, but she got in a little trouble, with the law.
Sometimes it's worth it.
So Rick, maybe in the future we could talk about revenge.
Well, it's very interesting. I'm doing a research study right now on revenge, karma, and forgiveness.
Okay. I look forward to reading that. So guys, thank you for joining us today as we talked with Dr. Richard Balkin about forgiveness. He gave us some good words on how we can start practicing forgiveness and understanding what it actually looks like. So thank you guys for joining Two Therapists and a Microphone. I am Dr. Harrison Davis.
And I'm Dr. Aisha Dickerson.
We will see you guys next week, Thursday at 7:00 p.m. Take care.
Like this.